Okay, jungle jargon against the world. Hopefully my computer's working, and hopefully the weather's not going to be too bad, and we can have a nice little live stream here. So, yeah, so the topic is jungle jargon against the world. All by myself, all by my lonesome here. Nobody else to help me, nobody else to support me. I'm all by myself, basically. And I don't know if people have a hard time finding a church to fit into, but as a missionary kid, I've been to many churches, and you know, not that I've been to every church, but I've been to a lot of different churches. But anyways, um, yeah. So turns out I was just looking over my videos, and there's three scientists that I have a disagreement with, and it's Dr. Jason Lisle, the PhD, uh, astrophysicist, and well, it's Dr. Jensen. Or is that four? It's four. I got four scientists. Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, a geneticist, and the other geneticist I just made a video of. I better remember his name is. Uh, Anyways, it's Kirk Wise, the geologist, and the geneticist that I just made a video on. I can't remember his name. That's bad. Um, Maybe I'll remember it. It's Dr. Carter, right? Dr. Carter. Anyways, so here we go. So in cosmology, the Dr. Jason Lisle has the one-way speed of light, synchrony convention, just a matter of how you look at it, which I kind of get his point a little bit. It depends who's looking at what, and everything. It depends what perspective you're looking at. And general relativity, but I don't think that explains why we see distant starlight. I think that general relativity alone explains why we see distant starlight, because the absence of gravity, or the less amount of gravity, means that causation, the rate which things happens much faster than where we are inside of a galaxy. So, in other words, that the speed of light actually speeds up without breaking the speed of light. So in other words, the speed of light is going faster by our observation, because our rate of time is much slower. Our rate of causation is much slower, and between here and the next galaxy, the rate of causation is much faster, because there's no matter to slow down the speed of light or slow down light. So the rate of causation is closer to instantaneous, because distance is expanded, so it's not even as far as what it looks like to us. It's actually closer than what it seems to be, and time goes by faster, which means that the universe is running at a different rate of time between here and the next galaxy. And I believe that explains sufficiently the speed of light, even if Dr. Jason Lisle was right, or is right, about depending on who's looking at what, because time is all a fabrication anyways. But I believe that people need to understand the reason for superluminal motion when a star explodes, or a galaxy explodes, or whatever, and then they have clouds moving away. The clouds are moving away faster faster than the speed of light when we go to measure it. Well, obviously, our measurements are wrong. We're using the wrong measures to measure the speed. So the distance is actually greater and the time goes by faster. That's why it looks to us like it's going faster than the speed of light when it's not, of course. The same thing with the superluminal motion of the plasma jets that are shooting out from galaxies. That was measured to be 7 times the speed of light. So obviously there's something wrong there, because the most you can get, even if you violate the principle of the moving train, shining light from a moving train, so that you get twice the speed of light, even if the most you can get is twice the speed of light, even if that was true, which according to Einstein, that's not even true to begin with, but they measured 7 times the speed of light. So obviously our measurements, or their measurements that they were using to calibrate or to measure the speed, was wrong. But if they understood what was going on, they could use that observation to calibrate time and distance, or the measure of distance and the rate of time. They could use that observation to better calibrate calibrate their measures of time and distance. So there's that. That's Dr. Jason Lyle. Then there's Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, which he talked about the T haplogroup. The T. Let me just do a little screen share for the here for the demonstration, or the picture. If I can find it over here. So yeah, Dr. Nathaniel Jensen says that the T haplogroup is the Jewish population, and the only population I can find that actually has the T in their population. Of course, when they say Sephardic Jews, they're going to lump all the Sephardic Jews, but the only population that actually has the T in their population is these. This is Portugal, by the way. And it's the congregation of the Bragança Jews. But then right here, directly south, is another congregation of Belmonte Jews. And they don't have any T in their population. Neither do any of the North African Sephardic populations, or Italy, or anywhere else. They don't have the T in any significant numbers in their population either. So the only, of course, if you average this out, let's say you include this population of Jews here with all the rest of the Sephardic Jews, well, yeah, maybe you could get like a 5%, 4 or 5% population of the Jewish population. But you have to realize it's only this population here that has the T in their congregation, whereas none of the others do. But because Dr. Nathaniel Jensen made the claim in his trace book that the T is the Jewish population, he believes that the J2, which of course you have to highlight this J2 right here, in the green. This is the Judaic portion of the population. And of course, if you get to the more conservative Jewish population, you have 2/3 of the population are J2, for the most part. And this is like actually a specific lineage of J's, probably J2. But it's 2/3 of the population there. And of course, the other one is Eurasian. This blue one here is R1b. The R1b is the Eurasian population here, the Portuguese host population. The R1b is the host population. So that's not Jewish. That's Eurasian, and it's the host population, the Portuguese host population. And notice the amount of J2 here in the Portuguese population as well. Of course, the other ones being E. These red colors are all E. That would be, we know what that is. That's would be from Africa. This is the E from mostly Mitzrayim. M35 is Mitzrayim, and M78 is Mitzrayim. Even M81 is in Mitzrayim. M123 is at Mitzrayim. I used to think that was Canaan, but it's not. That's E3. It's all E3. All these are E3, and they're all Mitzrayim. I'm pretty sure. I could be mistaken, but it's pretty much all Mitzrayim. I don't know. One of them could be put. I guess them. No, but I think they're all Mitzrayim, as far as I can remember. So there you have it. The T is only in this Bragança Jewish population because of their association with Tarshish, which is right here in this area here. Notice there's a little bit of T in the Portuguese host population, but it seems to me that Jewish population, the congregation, had an association going way back with, Tarshish, or Tartarus, or Tarsisus, or whatever you call them. So that's why they have like 14% or more, or 15% T in their population. Okay, so that's where I would disagree with Dr. Nathaniel Jensen, is that this J2, which is the green here, and 2/3 of the green here, is the Judaic Y haplogroup. Because, of course, there's also the Cohen modal haplotype, which is J1P58, and that just puts the final nail into the coffin, or whatever you call it. Anyway, so that's that. Now, who else? It was Dr. Carter. Dr. Carter, it was a video I just made. Hello, Kevin. Cousin. No, I'm not on Facebook, Messenger, or WhatsApp. Well, WhatsApp I am, but that's let's see, that would be interesting. But I would like to see what you have to say actually about this. I mean, I don't know if you would want to talk on this in this video or not, but your background and heritage would be a very interesting discussion. So, yeah, so then Dr. Carter kind of looked down on my, whatever you call it, my, it's not even mine, I keep saying mine, but it's the breakup of the continents. He already put out a video where he said the breakup of the continents is not to be considered or worthy of consideration or anything. But then also he just came out with a video in genetics saying that we can't know who the sons of Noah are, whether it's Shem, Ham, or Japheth. I mean, those are the obvious ones. But he said we can't know it. Well, maybe because of Dr. Nathaniel Jensen. Don't know, I'm not sure. But obviously we can know it because of the J1, the Cohen modal haplotype. The J1P58 identifies the descendants of Aaron from the tribe of Levi, who is a descendant of Israel, and Abraham, and Eber, and Arpachshad, which is the son of Shem. So right there we know which lineage is the descendants of Shem, because they're all the Semitic lineages. Actually, there's an interesting thing I would like to point out, and maybe I'll just bring up this this picture here. Oops, I forgot to share again. Hold on a second. Where am I? I gotta share again. There we go. So, yeah, the thing I would like to point out is that if I can remember. The It's not too hard. There's in the out of Africa, instead of having separate lineages, they had to connect the C to the F, and they had to connect the IJ to the K. It doesn't show very well in this diagram, but that's how they connect all these lineages together. But the idea being that this group here descended from this C, and then this group of K descended from the IJ, which is, we know it's not true because of many other reasons. But the thing is that the C can share, the CF can share an S&P marker with IJ, IJ being the oldest son of Shem, means that Shem and Ham can share a haplogroup, an S&P marker. So they do. They do share the S&P marker, not because one descended from the other, but because they have a common ancestor who is Noah. So Ham's father is Noah and Shem's father is Noah. That's why C can share an S&P marker with IJ. And the same thing with the IJK marker. Not that K descended from IJ. It's that Arpachshad's father, Shem, is the brother of Japheth, who is the father of all the K haplogroups here. So that's very, very important to understand. So let me see if I remember everything or not. Let me see. Hold on a second. So yeah, that's so Dr. Carter was saying that we can't know which haplogroup is which. But then again, if you go to the mitochondrial, how can we not know that these are all the daughters of Ham? We can know these are daughters of Ham because they're only in Africa. So, and they didn't even leave Africa until much later. In fact, they went to Africa and they left Nimrod in Mesopotamia, and they all went to Africa. So Nimrod's younger brothers and cousins, being Mitzrayim and such, they went to Africa and left Nimrod as king of Mesopotamia. Of course, Nimrod being the C haplogroup of the C paternal haplogroup, who is the son of Cush, Cush being A and B. So the AB is Cush, C is Cush too, but it's only the descendants of Nimrod. So, that's obvious. That was what the first thing that got me started was the descendants of Nimrod. That was the first thing that got me started identifying everyone to begin with. But this L, this is unmistakable. These are only found in Africa. Then again, the C, D, G, Z, E, M, these are only found in East Asia. And so they have to be Asian, Eurasian. And these other ones which are in, if you go to the other one, it shows you there's N and then there are, but this is actually all N. See this line here? From here to here is all N. So it's L, M, and N. That's the way they're grouped. So this is clearly African, this is clearly Asian, and this being Judaic and such, this is clearly Semitic. Plus the fact that Madai has to marry one of the daughters of Shem, which is the A lineage, which is this first part of N, excluding this R part, this first part. So all this here, or with the exception of the IS, I think the IS might be another daughter. It's probably another daughter of Shem. But the A, the O, X, and W, and N, this is all one lineage of one daughter of Shem. And then all these other ones, the B, the JT, UK, these in Europe, these are all other daughters of Shem. Because in Jewish population, you only have these haplogroups in the Jewish populations. And of course, the mitochondrial DNA doesn't jump around as much as the Y chromosome, so it's harder to tell which lineage is which. And it turns out that because also the other factor is that they were other daughters of Shem, which could have married into other Semitic groups, such as the Elamites, the Assyrians, the Lydians, and the Arameans. Those are Semitic populations too, and they would have the Semitic daughters of Shem, the daughters of Shem in their populations as well. So the majority of, or maybe not the majority, but a good portion of the mitochondrial DNA in the lineage of Nimrod, for example, would be Semitic. And as a matter of fact, Western Europe is 95% Semitic, which doesn't necessarily mean Judaic, but it means other lineages that were also in the other civilizations, the other ancient civilizations, such as Aram, Lud, Asher, and Elam, or the Elamites, Assyrians, Lydians, and Arameans. So that's unmistakable right there. So I don't know how someone can say you can't know who is who. I mean, you can't know the names of the daughters of Shem because we don't know the names of the daughters of Shem, but we do know the names of the sons of Noah and the grandsons of Noah. We know the names of the grandsons of Noah, which are here. And these are all, how many grandsons of Noah were there? There was 16 grandsons of Noah. So there's 16 ancient civilizations. Should we count them out? There's Cush and Nimrod, his son. There's Canaan and the Sinai tribe that goes to China, Tibet, Japan, and Altai Mountains and the Andamanese Islands. Then there's Put, the descendants of Put, that used to be the original Phoenicians in North Africa, but they migrated west into like Western Central Africa. And the rest is descendants of Mitzrayim, right there. So that's all the names right there. Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. That's all the four sons of Ham. Then we have the sons of Shem. We have Arpachshad is IJ. We've identified with the Cohen modal haplotype. We have F of the Arameans. We have F2, totally separate lineage of the Lydians. That's another person, totally separate from the Arameans. We have H of the Elamites, and we have G of the Assyrians. That's 5 sons of Shem. So it's Arpachshad, Aram, Elam, Lud, and Asher. So those are the 5 Semitic populations. Now, for the Eurasian populations, we have K of Tubal, we have the T of Javan, the L of the Thracians, Thrace or Tiraz, and we have the O and N, which is Magog, and we have the P, which is missing, which is Meshech. It's in Eastern Asia and Eastern Europe, both in Eastern Europe and Eastern Asia. That's the P lineage that's missing from here. That would be Meshech. Then the Q is Madai, and then the R is Gomer. R1A is Ashkenaz. R1A is Ashkenaz. R1B is Rivpath in southern Europe, and R2 in the area of India is Togarma. Those are the 3 sons of Gomer, right there. So who do we have? We have Tubal, Magog, Meshech, Tiraz. No, Tiraz is the L. Javan is the T. Q is Madai. P is Meshech. And R is Gomer. Those are 7 sons of Japheth. It's unmistakable. It's totally unmistakable. There's no excuse for not knowing the 16 original ancient civilizations. There's no excuse for it. What's the matter? I wasn't sharing again. Yeah, I wasn't sharing again. I just messed it all up. Anyway, let's look at some comments here. Okay, we have Brother Timothy, blessings all. Dr. Jensen's white tree, and there he chooses to place the root major breakpoints for Hamites, Shem, Shemites, and Japhethites, as well as the root Noah back to Adam, is way off base. Yeah, he thinks the Semitic populations swap places with Eurasian Japhethites somehow. He thinks these are Semitic in Eurasia, and he thinks these are Semitic in Eurasia, and he thinks these are Eurasians in the Middle East. They just swap places somehow. But anyways, it's all right to make mistakes. I've made mistakes myself. As long as you don't keep on doubling down on your mistakes. Okay, Christian Sodium Channel. There you go. And we have Brother Timothy. I have his book. He doesn't justify some of his conclusions. Yeah, and he only identifies what he thinks is the Jewish population, which is T. He doesn't really identify anyone else that I could tell, except for he swapped places with the Japhethites. The Semitic population with the Eurasian, they swap places. Lydia, the tattooed lady. Yeah, that's Lydia, the color purple. She's seller of purple. Yeah, but that was just a woman's name at the time. Hey, brother, Christian Sodium Channel, God bless you. Hope you are well, Timotheus. Okay, there you go. So, anyways, now that I'm sharing again, let me just go put this up here real quick. We got the daughters of the sons of Ham. Cush is A and B and C, which is Nimrod. E3 is Mitzrayim. E2 is Put. No, E1 is Put. E2 is Canaan. And D is a Canaanite tribe of Sinim that goes all the way to China, Japan, Tibet, all the way in the Altai Mountains as well. And that could be the source of the Denisovan figure bone right there. So then was it 5 sons of Shem? That's 4 sons of Ham. This is 5 sons of Shem, if I can keep it all in order. IJ is Arpachshad, which is I1 is Dan, I2 is Asher, J1 is Arabic tribes and Israelite tribes. J2 is mostly Judah, could be Israelite tribe, I suppose it could be Arabic too, or otherwise Hebrew. But the J1M172 is the largest, probably the house of David. Then we have F of the Arameans, H of the Elamites, F2 of the Lydians, and G of the Assyrians. That's 5 sons of Shem. We have the sons of Japheth. We'll start Magog, is O-N. Meshach is P, which is a new thing that I added, or that I changed. And K is Tubal. And the M and the S branches off from K. They're in Papua New Guinea. And K is in the area, is the only other one that's in the area. Only major haplogroup in the area is K, and they're from the same location. So M, K, and S are all Tubal. In central Italy, 8% of the Italian population is still K, which was the original population. So from the original population, still 8% in central Italy is still K to this day of Tubal. L is the Thracians of Tiraz, and T is the Mediterranean island seafaring people, became a large part of the Phoenicians. The sons of Jabin are Elisha, Dodanim, Kittim, and Tarshish. Tarshish in Iberia, Elisha, Dodanim, Kittim in the area of Anatolia, and the islands in the Greek islands. So then Q is the Medes, and they went all the way to America. And the P is missing from here, but that's Meshach. And Gomer is R. R1A is Ashkenaz, R1B is Ripath, R2 is Togarmah. So like it fits perfectly. You can't you can't mess it up. You can't mix it up. I mean, it was hard to begin with. It was hard for me to figure it out to begin with, because I had to figure out how the C was connected to the IJ, and how the IJ is connected to the K, and they have these markers connecting them. Yeah, they have markers connecting them, and they can share a marker because they have a common ancestor, which is Noah. So Ham's common ancestor with Shem is Noah. Japheth's common ancestor with Shem is Noah. So that's how that works. But it took me a long time to figure that out. But I finally figured it out, cracked the code, and there you go. So let's see what else we got. What else we have here? Don't really think Jensen relied much on the Table of Nations. Yeah, well, he went into the sons of Joktan or something. He was talking about Joktan and the bottleneck and everything, but it didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. But especially I was hoping that he would be able to identify them, but it didn't turn out very well, and he hasn't made a video since on on designating the haplogroups. He's been talking more about Native Americans and other things. And he used to talk about bottlenecks, which was good. But there's Gomer, Chimerians, and Sakas, Chimerus, Chimerus. They can trace migrations from Scythian steppe to Persians, Saxons, also all the way to UK, Welsh, and Chimeri. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about this. There's a lot of talk about these migrations and the languages and all that stuff. And there's a lot of good stuff, but it's not necessarily following the individual haplogroups migrations. And we can follow the migrations. I mean, all we have to do is go to here. Oh no, not here. Yeah, go to here, and we follow the haplogroup migration. What's this? This is mitochondrial A. Mitochondrial A. This is the daughter of Madai. See the daughter? The daughter of Madai that went with Madai all the way to Turkey. See to Turkey? I don't know if you can see here, but that's Turkey. There's a daughter right there in Turkey. That's Lydia. When the Medes went to Lydia, they also went off the coast of Africa to Central America, spread out from there, north and south, from Central America. You can follow the haplogroups. This is mitochondrial, but it's still kind of obvious what happened. Still kind of obvious that they went to Central America here and spread out north and south from there. And of course, that was before they came from the other. In the Q, you can see the Q haplogroup follows it a little bit better, maybe. But let me back this up a little bit here. Back it up. Okay. So there you can see it's clearly coming out of Asia, with the exception of this one daughter here. Somehow she crossed over this way from over here. So that's an A20 lineage or node or grouping. But all the other ones went to Central America and spread north and south from Central America. This is a Native American haplogroup. Native American haplogroup right there. Another one is this one here. This is this is I, but that goes to Native America too, way back in time. But that's not necessarily the one that went to Central America, I don't think. This might have been with the Vikings or something, because this is a European mitochondrial haplogroup. But then we have this one here. This is a W. This is another European mitochondrial haplogroup. This is more the migration of the Vikings. It's kind of obvious that it's not the same migration. So that would be the migration of the Vikings. That's a W. It's the same lineage as the A, but it's the European lineage that's connected to the A. So it's a daughter of Madai. Daughter of the daughters of Madai, of the wife that Madai married, daughter of Shem, but it's another lineage of the daughter of Shem that Madai married. I have to get this all straight. So that looks to me like a Viking migration instead of a Central America migration. This here is the X. This is another X. This is the one we're talking about, the X2A. See, this is X2A. And it's not showing all the lineages, but in this area of the Great Lakes region, all these tribes in this area, there's a whole group of different tribes in this area. They all have the X2A in their population in and around the area of the copper mines that are ancient copper mines in the Great Lakes region. And this X2A right here is also found in Galilee, right there. So there's just so much stuff, and I'm missing the Q here. The Q is not on here. Might take too much time to go look at. But anyways, so okay, now I'm getting behind, I guess. Okay, from Persia to steppes, yeah, from Persia to steppes, steady migrate west, Celts, Pride, Germanic, Slavic, Roman. Yeah, that's kind of the way they went. Some say they, instead of going through the Caucasus Mountains, they went around the Caspian Sea and over, but there's basically that kind of migration. Some of them might have gone through, but not, they're saying not major populations without leaving a trace. The Irish Book of Invasions, based on prehistoric oral history, says many Irish invaders came from Scythia. Yeah. Yeah, Solomon had 700 wives. And anytime you have 700 wives, you're reinforcing your genetics. So that's the reason why a lot of Jewish people today have red hair, like David, who's ruddy. And of course, uh, Jacob's brother Esau had red hair too. So it's kind of the same genetics. So there you go. Irish annals record oral historic invasion cycles. Fomorians said to be monsters. Forbols described as short and dark, swarthy. Tautha, Didanan, fairies, elves, Milesians from Spain. Milesians from Spain. Yep. And all of a sudden, that history becomes important. All of a sudden, the significance, Milesians are said to have arrived in Spain as a colony from ancient Greeks. All of a sudden, this ancient history is real important, more important than ever before. Because it all fits together. It all ties together. One interesting claim is the daughter of the pharaoh's name was Scrota, who married to Irish king. Her children gave Scroti tribe their name. Yeah, it's interesting because when you're talking about the Irish kings, I seem to be a direct descendant of most of the ancient Irish kings. It's just the way the genetics is, because my mother is 96% Irish or more. And so I have lineages. I can trace lineages to virtually every ancient Irish king there was. But that's just the way the genetics is. The genetics works. So they know Phoenicians made it to Ireland in 500 BC. They know the Phoenicians made it to Ireland. Oh yeah, of course. The Phoenicians on their way to America probably did go by way of Ireland, and probably they might have followed a northern route to America as well. Possibly, like that was the Viking route too, the Phoenicians, or they found another route. Maybe they crossed straight across. I don't know, but that's still a route to the Great Lakes regions, which is North America, not Central America. So they found the remains of the Barbary ape in excavation in the Irish chief's hut, likely an exotic pet trade by Phoenician traders. Yeah, that's a big possibility because, of course, the Phoenician traders controlled all the routes in the Mediterranean Sea, which includes the northern coast of North Africa. People were more well-traveled than thought. Yeah, of course, absolutely. Obviously, because and they built the megaliths in Central America and South America are are huge, are impressive. They're structures that we don't even know how they built. It's technology that we don't even have today. That means we are all likely related to Solomon. Yes, and David. One way or another, yes, we are all from Solomon. I mean, I have reddish hair myself, a little bit of reddish hair myself, maybe from David, I don't know. But yeah, I can also trace uh, lineages to Solomon and David. That means there are lineages between me, myself, and I. Going from father to mother to father to mother, father to mother. There, with all the names of the people between me and Solomon and David and stuff. And if you want, I can show you all the names. I won't show all the names all the way to me, but I'll just show it to some ancestor of mine. I can show them all the way back to Solomon, David, Abraham, Noah, whoever. Okay, sorry, this channel makes me an extra nerd. That's not bad because we need everybody's help. Here's Kevin J. People of Popel. We have already seen that the Gauls, Cimmerians, and Cymri, and the Celts were all simply different offshoots of the Cimmerian branch of the great Scythian people. Yes, and there is J J2, I1, and I2 in these populations as well, as far as I can tell, which is from the tribe of Israel. Yep, Cimmerians and Gomerians, in my view, equals Gomerians. Oh, Cimmerians is Gomerians? Okay. Yeah, so that would be descendants of Ashkenaz, Ribfath, and well, Togarma is more towards India. But yeah, so yeah, it's all of a sudden history. I was listening to hours and hours of history of the Sumerians this morning. It's like it's fascinating because Haran, where Abraham dwelled in Haran, that's a very significant part of the history of the Sumerians and Assyrians, and just the whole history coincides with the history of the Bible, because I've shared before where Abraham was a Sumerian. You know, he was from a Sumerian city called Ur of the Chaldees, and then Nimrod. There's a Bible verse that says Nimrod first built up the city of Akkad. Akkad of the Akkadians, and then Nimrod moved and built Nineveh. There's a verse in the Bible that says that. So that directly ties the biblical history into the Sumerian history and the Assyrian and Sumerian history. And the Bible, of course, links Nimrod with the Assyrians. There's a verse in the Bible that links Nimrod as being associated with the Assyrians, saying that Israel will no longer have a problem with Assyria and Nimrod, which I've shared that verse as well. Okay, I think we're a pre-Celtic people who are darker like Pix, Basque, Bell, Beaker, Bogus, and Irie. Well, they say that the Europeans were darker, but it's also true that the descendants of Nimrod were in Europe because they went all the way into Europe. This in the C haplogroup, the C1 haplogroup is found in Europe, and of course C1 is another branch besides the C2, C3, and C4 and C5. Those are 5 different lineages from Nimrod, descended from Nimrod, and of course that could have contributed to people being darker in Europe, and maybe people were darker in Europe, with the exception of maybe the descendants of David. I don't know. Maybe it's the descendants of David, and well, of course, if you live, many generations, so people that live many generations in the north are going to be lighter skinned anyways. So there's no big deal there. I don't think. Shouldn't be. That's okay. The Christian Sodium channel. I love this stuff myself. Been following Jargon for a few years. I hear origins for Latin name Germani is Kermani. They descended from slaves who were related to Assyrian slave city of Ker. Oh, Kermani. Huh. Germani, Kermani, Germania, Kermani. Oh, yeah. And we all know that the Slavics were the origin of the word slave as well. We should know. 2 Kings 16:19, and the kings of Assyria hearkened unto him, for the king of Assyria went up against Damascus and took it and carried the people of it captive to Ker. Oh, okay. The Assyrians went up against Damascus, of course, is in Anatolia, took it and carried the people off it captive to Ker. Oh, that's interesting. See, there's so much history that our teachers have neglected to share with us, but now everything is a lot clearer than what it used to be, at least for me, because I didn't know anything before I started on this this haplogroup journey, which is only been studied for like maybe 2 or 3 years or whatever. It's very, very interesting. Let's see what I got here, if I got anything. See, Elam. And the Elamites are very interesting. I mean, it's all very interesting. Elam bare a quiver of chariots of men, horsemen, and Ker uncovered the shield. Yeah. I mean, it's all biblical. The whole thing is biblical. All of ancient history is biblical, which is what I was trying to point out, is that every original ancient civilization is the direct descendants from the 16 grandsons of Noah, which is why I have identified all of them so well. I mean, not to say I'm good at it, but they just fit so perfectly. It's amazing. So, oh yeah, but Dr. Carter said that you can't do that, but I already did. So I don't know if he's trying to preempt my videos or me or what, but I already did it. I already identified them all. So then the next one is Dr. Kurt Weiss, which he put out one of his recent videos he put out explaining the difficulty in being able to explain how the animals got to where they went. So this is the fourth scientist creation scientist that I'm a little bit at odds with. But he might be coming around because he's seeing how difficult it is to explain some of these migrations of these animals, of how they got to where they went, because they're found in North America and Asia, the same animal. And he goes through it's a very interesting video. Everybody should watch it because it confirms all the more to me the breakup of the continents 100 years after the global flood. And so those are the four scientists that I'm a little bit at odds with: Dr. Jason Lyle, um, and Dr. Carter, and Dr. Jensen, and Dr. Kurt Wise, which I'm not angry with him or anything. I'm just saying, just presenting another possibility, and showing all the evidence. And I would love for everybody to be in total agreement with what the evidence is. So there we go. Let me see. Second Kings, we got this. Okay, Elam. Okay. Kurt Wise is a brilliant guy, yeah. And but we should really check out his latest video because he's showing all the difficulties. You know, there's only so much you can explain or try to explain. It doesn't adequately explain the migration or the movements of the animals. But his suggestion is the floating log mats. You know, the floating mat. You remember they're talking about surfing monkeys and stuff. How did the monkeys get to America? How did the dinosaurs get to America? All this stuff. You know, well, that's the idea, is that there was not surfing monkeys, but floating log mats, that they floated from one place to the other, which is a stretch. I mean, that would be a stretch. But anyways, none of that is a problem if we understand that the continents were all connected up to 100 years after the global flood. And they all, all the southern continents have like a seal stamped on them from the glacial striations, which only happened after the sediments were deposited. And the striations are on top of the sediments that deposited, which later broke apart. India has glacial striations from when it was connected to Antarctica. Australia has glacial striations from when it was connected to Antarctica. South Africa has glacial striations from when it was connected to Antarctica. South America has glacial striations from when it was connected to Antarctica. It's undeniable evidence, plus all the other circumstantial evidence, all the other animals that couldn't have possibly arrived in South America, which I've already made videos on those. Yep. I agree that the earth was divided in days of Peleg. I've always kept this in the back of my mind since I was a kid, which is like 55 years ago. And because I'm 66 right now, so it's about 55 years ago. I was in Brazil, and in a Bible study or a Bible class, and we're reading the verse about in the days of Peleg, the earth was divided, and the teacher said there's two interpretations. One is that it was the people that divided, which they did, but it was because the earth had divided and people separated into family groups and began speaking their own languages. But the text actually says the people were divided. It doesn't say it doesn't say the people were divided. It says the earth was divided. It doesn't say the people were divided. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, I highly recommend watching the video. The latest video of Kurt Wise, he goes through all these all these animals that are completely separate, almost like he's setting up for the possibility of the breakup of the earth being after the global flood. It's almost like he's setting things up, It's like, well, I have this theory. It's a floating log mat theory, but it's hard to explain this, and he lists all these, animals that just couldn't have possibly floated to where on log mats to both places where they ended up. But anyways, because we know they had to have left the ark, and they had to arrive where they arrived, And while people didn't arrive there because they were building the Tower of Babel up until the days of Peleg, when the earth was divided. Then they began speaking their own languages because of course, it was a catastrophic event because the lifespan of everyone was cut in half a second time. It was cut in half the first time because of the global flood. It was actually cut in half again in the days of Peleg. Cut in half. And that's a lot. That's a lot for it to be cut in half from almost 1,000 to less than 500 years, and to be cut in half again from almost 500 years to less than 250 years. That's a big cut in the lifespan. It happened twice. So, and the mammoths froze and they were buried by tsunamis, which would happen if the continents are being shoved up into the Arctic. That would cause the sea level to rise and cause huge tsunamis and bury everything exactly like forest, animals, trees, everything exactly like we see up there in the north. Everything was either frozen and buried or both, by this catastrophic event of the continents breaking apart and being shoved up into the north, into the Arctic. The herd of reindeer frozen in a river swimming across. Yep. Man, that was a quick freeze, though. I mean, for them, because they still had the mammoths and mastodons and stuff still had tropical vegetation frozen in their mouth, still in their mouths or in their stomachs or whatever, but it was still tropical vegetation frozen. That's when they were frozen, And I've been hearing, of course, these stories since I was a kid, and I've heard that the scientists actually ate the mammoth to prove that it was edible. And people criticized me for saying that. Well, that's what they told us. Earth divide, meaning split the continents. Yeah. Oh, and another thing is that in Hebrew, it says what Peleg means. Peleg means divided, right? But in the later Aramaic form of Hebrew, but the language that Jesus spoke, it no longer meant divided. You know what it means? The word Peleg means as the waters flow, or where the waters flow after the continent is divided. Well, I put in there after the continent is divided, but how can you go from a definition of Peleg being divided to where the waters are? That's because the waters are where the continents were divided. It's kind of, obvious when you consider that, it's like an obvious progression, That was the division. The division was the breakup of the continents. It's really, there's so many, circumstantial points of evidence. It's really amazing. Baumgarten's model, I can reconcile it. I can't reconcile it with Peleg. Wise gives a great presentation on it. Yeah, the Baumgarten model. Yeah, they have the Earth breaking apart during the global flood and causing the global flood, but it seems to me the evidence pointing to the fact that it broke apart after the sediments were deposited, because it's the sediments themselves with all the fossils that connect each other that broke apart. So you had to have the deposition first, then the glacial striations on top of that, and then they broke apart. That's the progression that it has to be. Otherwise, you're just, it's making up pseudoscience. I believe it's the case. If the Earth didn't have 23-degree tilt, we would not have such harsh degrees of weather. Earth would be like a paradise. Yeah, but it's these seasons that are, in a way, beneficial. I mean, you could go to like the tropics. You can go to tropics if you want to live in paradise. It's pretty much a paradise as far as the weather concerned. But it's kind of interesting too, the different seasons, which the Bible mentions, the different seasons, and that would be probably at the time of the global flood, the tilt, 23-degree tilt of the Earth, because the Bible mentions the different seasons. So it was in their mouth. Yeah, it was in their mouth. The vegetation in their, which is even more amazing if it was in their mouth, So yeah, to have tropical vegetation frozen in your mouth. I mean, that's kind of obvious there. What happened. There was an instant climate change, and an instant climate change could only happen if North America and Siberia were shoved up simultaneously up into the Arctic. And of course, they don't go all the way. They don't crash into each other, but they do slide from the South Pole all the way up, and the northern parts went all the way up into the Arctic, which raised the sea level, causing tsunamis that buried everything and all kinds of stuff. It's really, really amazing. But anyways, those are the four. I was going to say three scientists. It's actually four that I'm at a little bit at odds with. The young Earth creationist scientist. And I'm not a scientist. I'm just following what everybody else is following, looking at the evidence as best that I can. And so the one-way speed of light is hard for me because why does it have to be our observation that is the one way? I mean, it doesn't go. Was it instantaneous? Why is it our way that's instantaneous? The other way is taking more time. It doesn't make sense. But Dr. Jason Lyle says, well, that's because that's the synchrony convention. It's our perspective of things. Somebody else's perspective is different. Everybody's perspective is different. That's the way he seems to explain it. But in general relativity, you might not even need to say that there's a one-way speed of light. It could be two-way speed of light both ways. Round trip be the same. Because like if you shine a light to the moon, but he already talked about it, but is it going there that's one way, or is it coming back that's one way? He already addressed it, but I don't think adequately. But anyways, in general relativity, there's a faster rate of causation once you get away from the galaxy. And the same thing with redshift too. Redshift happens when light leaves another galaxy. When light leaves a galaxy, it's redshifted. When light enters our galaxy, it's blue shifted. But if everything was equal, it'd be blue shifted back to where it was before, which is hardly ever the case. It's either more red shifted or more blue shifted. It's not ever exactly the same red shifted as blue shifted. And the farther away that galaxies are, the more accumulation or accumulated gravity there is that the light has to travel to reach us in our galaxy, which is a smaller galaxy to begin with, which is only slightly blue shifted. So if it's a massive galaxy out there, And the farther away we see, the bigger they are, because otherwise we wouldn't even see them, probably. So they're not even going to be blue shifted back enough to begin with. But there seems to be an accumulated effect of an accumulation of gravity in the distance. The farther it is, the more distance the light has to travel, the more gravity that's pulling on it from surrounding galaxies, that when it reaches us, it's more redshifted. They refer to that as a tired light, but I wouldn't say tired. It's just that it's more redshifted because there's more gravity from where it came from than where it arrived at. Because when it arrives in our galaxy, that's when it's blue shifted, but it's not going to be blue shifted near as much if it's a distant galaxy. So, anyways, and as far as the speed of light, it's virtually instantaneous because there's no gravity, there's no mass between here and the next galaxy to slow down the rate of causation. So it's the light's going to arrive virtually instantaneous to our galaxy. It only slows down, in our perspective when it encounters the gravity of our galaxy. That's the only time that light actually slows down. Of course, it starts out slow from where it came from, but then once it leaves the galaxy, which is, once light, it's going the speed of light anyways, once it leaves the light, it's almost arrives here instantaneously. Because there's no matter or mass to slow down the light, to slow down causation. And there's observational evidence of that with the superluminal motion 7 times the speed of light of plasma jets shooting out from the center of the galaxy, and also a mere explosion, just a simple explosion of a galaxy, and the clouds moving out from the explosion, they're going faster than the speed of light. It's just a cloud. It's just a cloud, and by our measurements, they're going faster than the speed of light. So there's evidence supporting what I'm saying. And, it seems kind of obvious to me. So you've got this. Harsh weather. The mouth. Special relativity proves God as it indicates a cosmic universal observer keeping all else synchronized. Yeah, there's different ways you can look at it anyways, but still, I'm pointing out the effects of general relativity that nobody seems to be even, people don't even seem to understand it, even though Einstein talked about it. Einstein talked about the variable speed of light. And it seemed like nobody understood what he was saying either. Okay, good afternoon. I hope everyone is having a good Sunday. Christian Carpenter, good afternoon. Yep, we're having a good old time, grand old time. I'm just in disagreement with 4 creation scientists a little bit. But I'm trying to point out the obvious, but doesn't seem to be working. I can't say I'm all by myself because some people would probably agree with me. The implications are too scary for many. Yep. TSC. TCSC. Good to see you. That would be Christian Carpenter. Oh, this one here. That's TCSC. Okay. Yeah, it's just a little thing. I don't know if I need to keep on going. I've been going for a while. I just want to talk about the it's 4 scientists now. I thought it was 3. It's actually 4 creation scientists that are a little bit at odds with what they say with what I've been saying. So I have to like point it out and say why, explain why, and give all the reason. So that's the breakup of the continents. It's the genetic haplogroups, which I've already identified the 16 grandsons of Noah, and which is 2 geneticists. Plus, there's the Dr. Jason Lyell's one-way speed of light synchronity convention, which might not be such a bad thing, but because if everybody's seeing everything differently, it's like, which one are you going to go by anyways? Time doesn't go the same rate everywhere. So which rate of time are you going to go by? And which measure of distance are you measuring things with? In general relativity, there's no single measure of distance. There's no fixed measure of distance, and there's no fixed rate of time. The rate of time, that's what general relativity is. Time slows down near gravitational well. And distance contracts near gravitational well. So what measure are we going by? This makes no sense. And I don't believe the universe is expanding into oblivion without a cause or no reason. To me, the dark matter is unnecessary because general relativity explains the faster rate of causation. So like the outer spiral arms of galaxies moving faster than expected from our point of view is because of general relativity, because of the rate of causation speeds up as you move away from the center of the galaxy. The rate of causation speeds up. So that's why they appear to be going faster at first, and then eventually they'll slow down because that's the tendency is for them to slow down anyway. So that's how that works. And there's Doogie. Jeremy, Timothy, Kelby, Kevin. Yep. It's good to see you. Shalom. Happy Sunday. Yep. What do you think of them? How saying black holes create dark matter? They don't actually make dark matter. It's as you move away from the black hole, there's less and less gravity. When the more you have less gravity, the more distance expands, gets larger, and the more time speeds up. So in between galaxies, the distance isn't as far. For example, the most distant galaxy that we can detect with James Webb telescope is closer to us, literally closer to us by measurement than the center of our own black hole. Because whatever's happening inside a black hole is too far away from us to be able to even see. Even if we could see it, even if light could escape a black hole, we wouldn't be able to see it anyways because it's too far away and it'd be redshifted out of our range of detection. So the center of our black hole is farther away from us by measurement than the most distant galaxy observed by James Webb telescope. Plus, if you go to measure, it's impossible to measure the distance across the black hole because it's meaningless, because it's an infinite measurement. If you go to measure from one side of the black hole to the other side of the black hole straight across, it's meaningless because it's an infinite number, because it goes to infinity. So instead of measuring across the black hole, they measure around the circumference of a black hole. They don't measure across because it's meaningless. Okay. Yep. So, yeah, well, I guess it's good. I guess I've made my case pretty much on here. My signal's still here. Okay. I've been able to identify. Oh, here we go again. Been able to identify the 16 grandsons of Noah, along with their identifying Y chromosome, and I must have a cloud. Might have some weather coming in. Might have some weather coming in, and the rate of causation explains in general relativity is what can explain us being able to see distant starlight, because the light arrives almost instantaneously to us from distant galaxies, because the measures of time and distance, the rate of causation is much faster between here and there than it is where we are. Our measure, we can't project our measures of time and distance on into outer space, where there's no matter to slow down time and distance. So it's virtually instantaneous. The fabrication of time and space is made possible by the formation of matter. It's the formation of matter that allows for our existence in slow motion, as opposed to everything being instantaneous. So that's what the world that we live in, the universe that we live in, is made possible by our galaxy, the gravity of our galaxy. That's what makes possible our existence in slow motion, where it takes time for things to take place so that life can take time to occur, take time to happen. So here we go. So, and good fellowship. God bless you all. Much love. Yep. Got time to eat. All right. All right. God bless everybody. Take care. Did I cover everything? It's the timeline problem, the genetic problem, and the breakup of the continents is the other one. But there's at least 4 scientists, creation scientists, that would be or might be at odds with me if they don't understand what I'm talking about. So God bless everybody. Take care and stay true to the evidence. Stay true to the facts, and stay true to God's word, the truth of God's word. God bless everybody. Take care.